Welcome to your New Hampshire National Guard podcast. We are always ready, always there. This podcast series is a production of the State Public Affairs Office.
Welcome to the first podcast of your New Hampshire National Guard. I'm your host, Lieutenant Colonel Greg Heilshorn, Director of Public Affairs, and in our control room, beaming like a proud father, is Tech Sergeant Charles Johnston, the show's producer extraordinaire. Our guest today is Major General David Mikolaities, the Adjutant General of the New Hampshire National Guard. I can't think of a better way to start this new adventure than with a homegrown Manchester kid who grew up to be a Green Beret and now resides in Portsmouth, where he's a husband, dad, coach, and fledgling chicken farmer. Good morning, sir.
Thanks, Greg. Thanks for having me on today.
How are those chickens, by the way?
They're doing well. We're down to 3, but they're doing well.
Good. I bring that up because you shared a funny story a while ago of corralling a few that escaped the coop, and you were out in your backyard with either a hockey stick or a broom trying to get them back in.
True statement. They're backyard chickens. We have a small lot in Portsmouth, but I think the neighbors enjoy them as well as our kids.
Nice. Well, suffice to say, home life has a way of bringing you back down to earth. You're in your 4th year as the Adjutant General, charged with leading 3,000 soldiers, airmen, and civilian employees. Has it been a similar humbling experience for you?
Yeah, it truly has. I really didn't know what to expect when I took the position, and now that you have almost this bird's eye view up front of all these soldiers and airmen and the great things they do, it's truly been a humbling experience. But it also let me know is probably what I didn't know. I've never had to interact this much with the Air National Guard, the new KC-46, its new mission set, and its strategic relevance that it has on the seacoast for the next 50 years. And learning and seeing up close, what they do day in and day out has just been a great opportunity.
What's impressed you the most so far? Or maybe the biggest impression that's been made?
I think for both the Army and Air combined is they always succeed. And when you reflect back and just in the last year or two, and I think about them like, the state's response to COVID, we had 788 soldiers and airmen activated at the peak of COVID, over 200,000 man days in support of the state of New Hampshire. And oh, by the way, while we were doing this, we just fielded this new airplane at Pease, and we're flying real-world missions. And when you look at what we do, with the mission triad, fight to win our nation's wars, secure the homeland, and building partnerships, all three, we've been just knocking it out of the park.
The op tempo has been especially unprecedented over the last 2 years. It's felt like we've all been riding the Shanghai Maglev, which is the world's fastest train, and I had to look that up, by the way. Now that the worst of the pandemic is over, it feels like the train is alluding to what you just said, is picking up speed in a different way. Is that how you see it, or are we kind of in a different phase right now?
Yeah, I think we're in a different phase, but the basic soldiering and airman skills, right? Mastering the fundamentals, that hasn't changed. And just as we now pivot to the great power competition with Afghanistan and Iraq pretty much behind us, with COVID mostly in the rearview mirror, we're going back to what we did about 20, 30 years ago, about pre-9/11, great power competition. The adversary this time around is China. Last time around it was Russia. And it's just projecting and making sure our readiness is there. So when our soldiers and airmen are needed for that federal mission, we can appropriately respond.
We've heard this term used a lot, the great power competition, by our senior leaders, both here in New Hampshire and nationally. Explain for those listeners who might not know exactly what that is. Can you explain that?
Yeah, I think in simple terms, for great power competition, democracy is on the demise around the globe, and it's being challenged by adversarial authoritarian regimes. And the international rules-based order that the U.S. established post-World War II is just under duress right now. And, you see China and Russia and sometimes Iran doing things that sort of destabilizes this global order that the U.S. established post-World War II. And it's just a function for us in the U.S. military getting back to that great power competition, just being ready in the case that something's needed from us.
Mm-hmm. Now you're in your 4th year as the Adjutant General. Do you feel like you found your groove?
I would have thought so before COVID. Now with COVID sort of subsiding, there's always a different challenge or a different opportunity. I reflect and look back and say, all the big accomplishments the New Hampshire National Guard has accomplished. Obviously COVID, the KC-46. Then when you look at the Army, it's fielding new force structure. Mm-hmm. And the additional force structure, in the last year or two, and next year or two going ahead, we'll add about 10 to 15% additional force structure to the state of New Hampshire. And a lot of capabilities that we were lacking in the past. And it's just a great opportunity to be in the Guard right now, whether it's want to be Army or Air. And as you go forward, we're fortunate enough to get our second state partnership program. For the last 20 plus years, started in 2000, we were partners with the country of El Salvador. And now we were recently awarded or notified of our selection for Cabo Verde. So having that global presence, building alliances, giving our soldiers and airmen the opportunities to travel and train, to build those alliances and strengthen the democracy around the globe, it's just an exciting time.
So it's fair to say the train is moving pretty fast, but the key is we have lots of open seats. Is that a fair?
I think that's a fair statement.
So give us your best recruiting pitch. Why is the National Guard the best choice for a young man or woman considering military service?
You can live, learn, serve right here in the state of New Hampshire. It all started back in 1679. Goes forward another century later, and those famous words, live free or die. And if you want to serve your community, your state, and the nation, part-time job, full-time benefits, the time is now.
Full-time benefits, something that our generation, or I should say soldiers our age, didn't really see when we were coming up through the ranks. Completely free tuition at any state college or university. No, it sounds too good to be true, but it is.
Yeah, with the escalator to the middle class. And that's the opportunities for educational opportunities, whether it's white collar or blue collar, where you want to learn a trade, a skill, or credentialing. We've had soldiers and airmen actually get their law degrees through this tuition waiver program. So, the opportunities exist for you to better yourself. And it's all about being a better citizen, being a better informed citizen to serve your community, your state, and your nation.
Excellent. Okay, I've got a series of random rapid-fire questions if you're game.
Yeah, let's do it.
It's going to be all over the place. So first question, do you believe in UFOs?
No.
Have you ever seen one?
No.
Obviously not. Favorite movie?
Next.
We can come back to that one. Last good book you read?
Team of Rivals. Talked about Abe Lincoln and how he established and selected his cabinet and his leadership during the Civil War.
Nice. One guilty pleasure?
We call it Boy Scout trail mix. So when I'm involved with the Cub Scouts and Boy Scouts, and when we ever go on hiking trips, we make this called Boy Scout trail mix with pretzel goldfish, craisins, peanuts, and M&Ms.
If you could change one thing about yourself, what would it be?
To listen more.
Can someone learn to be a good leader, or do you have to be born with the instincts?
I think that's an age-old question, and I think there's proponents on both sides of that equation. I think it's a little bit of both.
I think it's a little bit of both. Okay. What's the difference between a good leader and a bad one?
A good leader serves with humility and empathy and is a true servant leader. And the bad leader or a poor leader it's all about me. And that's the difference. And if you learn the values of leadership the right way, you can identify that in the people who aren't out for the team, the we versus the me.
And you can see that. We're not just talking about officers. It's any soldier, any military service member at any level. of command.
Yep, selfless service.
Would you agree that good followers are underrated?
Yes.
So Tom Brady gets all the credit, but if his receivers don't catch the ball, if his linemen don't block, or if his defense folds like an ocean lot table, well, maybe he wins, half as many Super Bowls. That seems to be something that you could apply in almost not only just military service, but in any career field, in any business company, etc.
Yeah, I think that's the best thing about the military is it's the best team you could ever serve on. It's a team endeavor. We do it as a team. It's all about the team, less of the me.
Would you say in your career you've had a fairly robust and long career, both active duty and reserve in the Guard? Are you seeing more of the we, or are you seeing too much of the me?
I think we're coming back to more of the we. I think, unfortunately, a little bit prior to the global war on terror, it was more about the me, and individuals and soldiers or officers are in their sort of individual self-advancement. But I think with the global war on terror, would it focused us back to the, getting back to the team, the we, and empowering our sort of NCOs, our non-commissioned officers, to take the lead.
And especially today, it seems like politics has infested every facet of our life, to include the military. The vitriol especially has become so magnified. How do you avoid it, or how do you keep above that constant fray?
I think it's just about staying true to your values. Stay true to your values and why you serve. And we're here to protect and defend. We swore an oath to the Constitution, defend against all enemies, foreign and domestic. Stay true to that sort of core belief in the Constitution, the oath that you took.
Roger. What's the future hold for the New Hampshire National Guard?
I think it's exciting times. There's always an opportunity. And whether it's, participating in the state partnership program and having the opportunity to travel abroad, serving with a foreign nation military, with the ability to hear, train at home. And I think with COVID, it brought us back to the basics. It brought us back to being a community-based organization, getting involved locally and building those partnerships. When you look around the state and the partnerships that we've built over the last year and a half, they are strong. And I think that just sets us up for good opportunities in the future, whether it's training at home or abroad.
Are you feeling pretty optimistic that not only can we meet the challenge, but we can attract those stellar young men and women to the force and get them involved?
I think so. Some have said like Generation Z is a little bit different than Generation X versus the millennials. Ultimately, it's about service to something bigger than yourself. If you want to make a difference, you can do it here. And I think for those thinking, whether it's an opportunity, education, adventure, you can do it here. You can live, learn, serve here in New Hampshire.
What do you tell parents who understand that message, who get it? It all starts with values, but maybe they're struggling with their children as far as getting them to see the lights, so to speak, or they've got kids that are more wrapped up in watching TikTok and catching up on their digital platforms. You being a parent yourself, what would you share with parents out there that may have that question is, how do I get my kids to see that, to embrace that selfless service side of life?
I would first try to have that parent find a peer of another soldier or airman who's currently serving of a similar age group or demographic, and find that soldier or airman, maybe the University of New Hampshire or Plymouth State or a community college system, and say, hey, why did you join? And learn firsthand that the opportunities are endless. The challenges might be hard. They're not insurmountable. You can achieve what you sort of pursue.
Do you agree those values start at home?
It all starts at home.
With the folks, with
Yep.
the parents. What's the future hold for you? A few tags ago, the running rumor about this particular tag was that as soon as he retired as the Adjutant General, he was going to put his name in the hat for governor, that he had some sort of political ambitions. And when we talked to him about it, he chuckled about it and said, that's not what my future holds. I certainly will take an active role in the community and probably local politics, but it's a question that I think is especially troops at the lower level, they look up to your office and wonder, where does the general go next? Where does the general go next?
I would say, I love what I do. I love waking up every morning and putting on our nation's uniform. I usually joke with that Bill Belichick line and say, I drank the Kool-Aid. It's all about being red, white, and blue. And I firmly believe in everything this uniform and this nation stands for. I think looking into the future, just a gentleman farmer, probably having more chickens and just pursuing sort of an outdoor, quiet lifestyle.
Well said, General, and thank you for joining us on the first podcast of your New Hampshire National Guard, and we look forward to having you back again real soon.
Thanks, Greg. I appreciate your time.
Thanks for listening to your New Hampshire National Guard podcast.